Good morning. Call the Finance Committee to order. All members are present and accounted for. Alderwoman Finlayson and Alderman Payon. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I think we have an addition to the agenda, which is...
Mr. Chair, may I ask Takia to send me an email copy? Because I don't want to have to bounce back and forth between...
Copy of the agenda or copy of the new FT 3-21?
Both. I assume that's attached to the agenda, right?
You should have FT 21. No, it's not, because it's brand new, but it's good news. Yay, I'm glad we're doing this. I bet Brian Paquin is too.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry. And I'll send the agenda to you now.
Okay. I'm looking at my phone, and is our website down?
Well, Brian is on the air. You can ask him directly.
Albeit, it does not appear to be. Seems fine.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I will move the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion? Failing, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you, Takia, for capturing that. Next item on the agenda is budget revision requests. And we have, I think everyone should now have FT 3-21. It is fairly self-explanatory. It is a large amount of money, $520,000, but it is to provide relief for the track-it system. I don't know, Madam Finance Director, do you want to speak to this, or should we go directly to Brian or to the City Manager?
I'll provide an overview. We want to upgrade the planning and zoning permit system, which is very much needed, and Brian can explain all the issues we're having. It has this new version that we'd be going to is from another vendor, but it adds a lot more remote processing capability that we could use during this time we're in. And we contemplated using the other funding source for it, the CARES money for it, but it's questionable as to whether that would qualify or not, and the guidance is unclear. So we decided we can use the CARES money for the police and fire salaries. And so we will use some of their appropriation authority, transfer to planning and zoning for the software, and then transfer more of the police and fire salaries over to the CARES money.
Ryan, did you want, City Manager
wants to add to it.
City Manager?
Just real quick. So we looked long and hard about using the CARES money for this, and there's other cities across the country that have done that. So we think we probably could, but the issue is that money needs to be spent by December 30th, and that would be virtually impossible for this implementation to have the money spent by December 30th. So that's the reason why we backed away from that approach.
I'm fairly sure my colleagues on the committee understand the dilemma we've been in, which is track-it is down, and it's affecting a lot of things, including, I suspect, the Board of Appeals hearing tonight. But Dr. Nash has been bearing a lot of the brunt of this, including emails from some of our beloved constituents. So I think we should let Dr. Nash have a say, and then we'll get to you, Brian.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, we're trying really hard. Even before eTrack-It went down, once we started working remotely, we noticed a lot of issues we have with Track-It. And actually, IT has been having other issues with the mapping function for years. So it's just time to move to a more versatile system that the whole city can benefit from, especially public works and planning and zoning, but other departments as well. And we can consolidate some of our software, like the iWorks software, and just use this. It will all be integrated. And what's really hurting us are the things we still need paper for, like giving people their permits when it's approved.
Hey.
Right. Sending permits around for review if they're too big to scan easily. And the payments is also very complicated right now. We're just struggling with that. We don't have a really good way to do it. And we're just going to need that as we move into the next 10, 20 years, regardless of COVID. We're just going to need to adapt to a more sophisticated software program. So we're really excited about this.
As am I. And David, I was able to get to permits, and I paid my tree permit this morning. So bring on the buzzsaws. But anyway, this has been a real nuisance. And it's amazing to me the number of people that use eTrack-It and use it in different ways. Apparently, the realtors in town use it a lot, and they've really felt the pinch of not being able to get in and look at what's going on with particular pieces of the property. So long overdue, and I hope we'll do something to give you a sigh of relief this morning, Brian, but would you like to give us any of the details that we need? Oh, Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, Mr. Chair, may I speak to Dr. Nash before we finish with her?
Of course.
I noticed in some of the emails that we've seen that you have taken another route for still providing that same information, just not through the eTrack-It system. So I just wanted to commend you, Dr. Nash, on still trying to meet the needs of the community, even under these circumstances. But I do believe that you're still providing that information, just not in the same way.
We'll provide anything upon request. And then for our hearings, I've created another link on our webpage so everyone can see all the documents. And I'd like to thank Joelle in the law office for coming up with that solution, because I was struggling with figuring out how I was going to get all of the PDFs onto the webpage. But he suggested we just put a link to the Google Drive. And so that's been a godsend, because now everyone can see all the documents. So it's not quite as good as eTrack-It, but it will serve our purposes temporarily.
And the information is there. So it's not like we're hiding or, neglecting to provide information or anything.
Nope. So, and we're happy to email information if there's something not there. We're happy to email anything that's usually publicly accessible.
Great. Thank you.
Director Paquin.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I'd like to start by thanking Sally and planning and the permits folks for being so patient through this process, and apologize for all the extra work and hassle that's resulted from this outage. Quick update on that is we got word on Monday that the paperwork between Central Square, which is the vendor that provides eTrack-It, and the third party that's going to be providing the solution or the workaround, they have reached some sort of agreement after weeks and weeks of whatever the heck they've been doing over there. We're hoping to have paperwork to sign by close of business Friday, which means hopefully sometime next week we could bring eTrack-It back online. But again, we've been promised things before, but I did want to throw that out there, that there does appear to be some light at the end of the tunnel to be able to bring eTrack-It back online, and hopefully in the near term. To talk a little bit about Energov, I've got Carrie Kramer here, our lead analyst, with me to make sure I hit on all the high points. But one of the biggest things that the Energov product will bring will be a a workflow from beginning to end of the permitting process, from application to plan submittal, review and acceptance, and payment, all online without requiring an office visit, or really wouldn't have to step foot into a city building. We would also have online inspection scheduling and remote submission of inspection results, which would also help keep in-person staffing needs for the department to a minimum. You could have your inspectors actually do their entire job without having to necessarily come into the office. So those are some of the high points. What am I missing? Let's see. So from an IT perspective, we're reducing complexity, reducing the number of physical servers, reducing cooling, electricity needs, things of that nature. Also, because the new portion of the system that's going to be coming online is virtualized, it will help us for disaster recovery, cybersecurity. The other thing that just popped into my head that I think is going to make Jody the happiest is that they will be going to a Tyler cashiering. So all of their transactions will be done on the exact same platform that finance uses. So they're, on all the payment processing will be unified between planning, permitting, and finance.
Questions or comments from the committee? If not, I think the source is self-explanatory. It was a question I had. I worried about police and fire budgets, but it sounds like we have a plan B for that. So is there a motion to recommend approval? We are recommending approval, right? Not recommend approval of FT 3-21.
Mr. Chair, I'll move, recommend approval of FT 3-21.
Is there a second?
Reluctantly, I'll second.
Tell us about your reluctance, Fred. I want to understand.
Well, we're dipping into the general fund already. And, I fear that this is the first of many times we're going to be doing this. And we don't usually do it. It's not a sign of responsible budgeting and spending, in my humble opinion. Now, I think it's for a good cause, but then I think back that, we budgeted almost $22 million for the police department, and we're already taking $260,000 out of the bank, if you will. It looks like it needs to be done, so I'm not really against it, but I just find it troubling, shall we say, that we're seem to be dipping into it at this point. I mean, I'll go ahead. I don't think we have any choice. Just don't like it. I think Jody wants to respond, and I do have one as well. Jody?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that to compensate, we would be moving actual salary expenses out of the general fund to the CARES fund. The police and fire expenses will be relieved by that amount that you see there, and moving the actual expenses to CARES. So we have found a way to offset that effect on the general fund.
So my response, Fred, I would be in total agreement, but I think there are two things that are not normal here. One is we are in a CARES environment, and I think we might as well get advantage of the CARES money. And two, we didn't have any anticipation at budget time that we were going to have this problem with Track It. It is a pretty fundamental system, both for our internal users and our external users. And I'm quite pleased that we've found what we hope will be a solution. So I understand your point, and that's why I wanted to give you a chance to express it. However, like you, I'm planning to vote yes. And with that, unless there's other comments or questions, I would ask for a vote in favor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. The ayes have it. All right. Thank you, committee. Let's see what's next on the agenda. I think we are going to go to legislation. And this has to do with the change of the special events calendar to add Juneteenth. Is it Juneteenth? June 19th?
It's Juneteenth. Celebrate. Yes.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I'll speak to it if you'd like. This is my legislation, even though I feel like it's been absconded by others. I have been working with this group.
That never happens. Come on.
I know. I was surprised that it came up the last time because it wasn't complete. Because what is being planned is a festival, a parade, and then a festival on Juneteenth, which is the celebration of the freedom of many African Americans out of slavery. And so that date has been celebrated around the country, even though we in Annapolis and Maryland have not made a big deal of it. It is a celebration. And I have to add a brief aside. That happens to be my birthday. And when I spend my birthday in Milwaukee, I've always felt like, yes, because their city always has a huge celebration on Juneteenth, unlike here in Maryland. So Annapolis is moving into that arena to recognize holidays that celebrate African Americans like we have not done in the past. And so this is a celebration that's being planned by the community. Some of the folks in the community have been involved with our events in the past and know the procedures. So they have gone through Felicia with special events and, Archie with facilities and the like. So this is the actual legislation that would make this event a city-sponsored event. And it entails, and I'm getting notes saying I want to volunteer on my screen. Thank you. It would be on June 19th, of course, and it would begin with a parade at City Dock that ends up at what we know as Maryland Hall, the fields behind Maryland Hall, and then a community-wide celebration. So this is the legislation that will allow us to treat this as we do other city-sponsored events.
So we know if it's your birthday, it's also Joe Budge's birthday.
That's right.
So
we can be grand marshals together.
Fred, do you have any observations you'd wish to add?
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm an old man. Did we have a motion?
I will gladly make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation to R5120.
And I'll gladly second it.
All right. And Director Dickinson, there is a fiscal impact. I think it's around $43,000.
4,300.
Oh, okay. I was going to pocket the difference.
Okay. Now, what I wanted to comment on, though, is after we wrote the fiscal note, our special events coordinator came up with a more specific estimate. They think it may be more 3,500 to 4,000. So the fiscal impact of waiving might be a little bit less. We don't know exactly because we've never had this particular parade before, but that's their best estimate.
Okay, well, that's good news. So any further discussion? Failing that, all in favor of recommending approval to the City Council signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you for doing this, Sheila. And hopefully we'll have nice weather.
Yes, thank you for your support.
All right, next on the agenda is general discussion, which usually starts with an update from the Finance Director.
Okay, so our department is busy as usual. Besides going into this this new product for the permit system, which I'm hoping we don't have to give a lot of effort for, we are going live with our short-term rental tracking software vendor, and they are going to be tracking STR's compliance with permitting and compliance with paying the hotel occupancy or the occupancy tax. And we're getting that set up now, so we're busy with that. We are at the final stages of moving the tail end of the payroll process to ADP. We hope to go live with that in 5 or 6 weeks on the wages side. We got bids in for our band line of credit, and we have our potential successful bidder, and we have not completed the paperwork, but we'll be starting that this week.
I'm typing. Are there questions from the committee?
No, I think she succinctly, the report was succinct, and I don't really have anything else to question or to say anything about.
Jody, I saw but didn't open up yet something from Katie. I think it's an update of the quarterly status or update, some budget update.
I think that was just the budget transfer that we already did.
If you're talking about something that Katie sent out, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
We sent out the first quarter budget to actual report.
Right.
For, September 30th. So that went out yesterday. We had, we tried to iron out some issues and look into some things that look kind of, we had a draft a few weeks ago, but we had to iron out some issues there, but we've got it finalized, and that's the September 30 budget to actual. So take a look at that and get back to us if you have any questions.
All right, but in general, how are we looking?
The expenses are pretty much on track. The salary and benefits are at 21% of the budget, which is probably right at this time of year. It should be just under 25% of the budget. So we're on track. I don't see, it's too early to see the savings in the other non-personal services categories. So we'll see more of that in the next quarter to see if we're cutting costs in other places. So
does this mean like we still look like we'll be down 3.3 million for the fiscal year because of revenue shortfalls?
So far, I would say yes. I would count on expenses being on track with budget for now. Yeah. Okay. Like I say, some of the electric, some of the gasoline, those savings may show up later in the year. So we only have a couple months of activity to look at.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, that was going to be my question. Usually we see more savings in the fourth quarter. So is staff being asked to be conservative in their expenditures at this point?
Yes, they all are. The reason you see it in the fourth quarter is because they're saving the funds all year long. And in the fourth quarter is when we make that assessment and when you see the financial statements in the fourth quarter statements, you see the total savings for the year. In the first quarter, all the bills that come in for July are usually for June or prior. So when we're looking at activity at this time of year, you really only have August bills and September bills to look at. So that's why I hesitate to say, can I quantify how much we're saving right now in the non-salary and non-benefits line items, because I only have 2 months worth of activity to see. So it's hard to assess that.
Thank you.
I don't think it's that we save money in the fourth quarter. You see that coming back in the fourth quarter because we finalize the amounts.
I just wanted, the community to see that trend that we have experienced in the past.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Is there any other business for the committee? If not, can we end in a record-setting half-hour time?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second. 37 minutes.
Thank you, everybody. All those in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
By the way, thank you to Brian Paquin. I think he's already signed off, and Director of Planning and Zoning. I'll see none of you at 3 o'clock, but I'll see others at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
And that would be 20.